What is up? Today we're going to be going over a little preview track that I made with Tech House Elements, Volume 1, and the Tech House vocals as well that Anthony and I recorded. So first up, let's do a listen through.
Nobody has to know that we're moving in the flow. Together, just kiss one time. I promise it'll be alright.
Okay, so that is the preview that I made last night. I'm going to be breaking it down for you and showing you how easy it is to make a tech house song with the samples from our pack. So first up, I started off with a kick drum. It's kick 11 from the sample pack, and then I just I compressed it a little bit just to bring out a little bit more attack. Just a little bit of attack on that. And then I added in a hi-hat that I have layered. So it is two hats in conjunction, and they sound like this. I took hat 15, and on its own, it's more drawn out. Has a pretty large tail to it, so I just used the fade and shortened it up. Same with hi-hat number 10. More has a washiness to it, but it doesn't have like a body presence to it. So I just used a body of 13 with like the washiness and high end of 10. And then also underneath that, I have just a loop of a hi-hat doing 16th notes underneath it. I used a groove. I used Swing MP Funker, and then I just played with the timing and velocity. So it added more like push to the song. It draws you through the whole drop. And here's with no groove. Very straight. More character. Alright, next up I added claps into this. So what I ended up doing was I grabbed a clap that I liked the most first. I love the top end on this one, so I tried to emphasize the top end with an EQ. I took another clap that has more like body to it. I tried to emphasize that body again using an EQ. And I took out some resonances here. Just stuff that might clash and build up with other claps I add. And then also just a little precursor clap. I just have it scooted before just a tiny bit, just to get the attack of the clap away from the kick. Deadmau5 does a lot in his tracks, a lot of house producers do it as well. And then last up, I have this last clap, very attacky. It's just there to give it more attack. That's everything combined. You can hear that there's like a whoosh into it almost. It draws you into the clap. And then this one has it as well. Not as much. It's still there just a little bit, and it adds variation as well. And before the drop, I used a gated reverb. So just use whatever reverb you like and sounds nice and parallel, and put a gate on it and set the levels. Just makes it sound bigger. And I use this very sparingly, especially in house music, because you don't want like a huge tail most of the time to a lot of the sounds. It wants to be very tight. I usually do this before the drop and the pre-drop, and it just adds a little bit more character and makes it sound bigger. And without it, just lacking. Next up, I think I went and added a sub to this. So I took the bass line from MIDI 11. Here's the MIDI originally. I liked where the notes were sitting, but I didn't like the notes that they were playing, if that made sense. I didn't like having it go so high up, so I brought everything down so it's just playing two notes pretty much. And you pitch it down. And I did add in a little accents, some accent notes as well. And then once again, I also used the grooves. In Ableton, I used the grooves, and I used Swing MP Funk 1655. Same thing that's on the hats, and you'll see throughout the whole track, it's on pretty much every MIDI clip. Next up, I tried adding like a memorable part of the track besides from the kick and bass, because every song's got kick and bass. I wanted like a little bit something a little bit different. So I stumbled across a preset in Serum from the Tech House Elements pack, and I just added some unison to it. And this is what it originally sounded like. It sounded a little bit weak in my opinion, even though I was the one who made it. Especially in the context of having this, I originally made it to be played with like chords or like an ARP. So I added some unison just to add a little bit more beef into it. And then, stock Ableton, reverbs, and then drum bus to add a little bit more crunch to it and try to bring out the attack of it. Drum bus does add a little bit of low end, so be careful of that. Throw an EQ at the end. Vinyl distortion. Once again, adding a little bit more bite into it, delay, fill up the place, and then saturation, and an EQ. Very, very simple. Serum's easy to tweak it how you want, use it. Always add post-processing to make it unique as well. Next up, I was like, it needs like a little bit of a riser into itself. So I duplicated it. Just this little riser here. And I duplicated it, and instead of having it be plucky with the envelope, having the sustain turned all the way down, I turned it all the way up and then removed the envelope from the filter cutoff and then automated the filter cutoff to bring it in. And then it just sounded wrong with... just sounded empty here. It just sounded empty after that played in the in-between sections. So I went through and I found another preset. There's a little like tail to it that I didn't like, so I freezed and flattened it to make it very short and attacky. And then drum bus, delay, and reverb and EQ again. And the delay I have all the way up, so you don't get the initial hit. So it's just a left, right with the delay. And that fills out the space in between where the main synths are. And then I needed a little bit of variation, I wanted a little bit of variation for the next part. I just found another Serum preset, and I used that instead of the other Serum preset. So this is Tech House Elements Lead 14. So I just automated the cutoff so it opens up over time. And then I also automated the attack, also the filter attack as well. And then also another thing that I did was I took the fifth or seventh semitones up. I think that's called the fifth. I took the fifth. I don't know music theory. I took the fifth in the scale, and then which is 7 semitones up above whatever note you're playing. And then I pitched that down an octave. That's just another way I differentiated it from the first one. One note. Just added a little bit more body to it. And then also on the last one, I delayed these 2 notes and separated them just to add a little bit of variation than the rest of the dun, dun, That's all the synths done. Let's go into vocals here. So I'm using the Tech House vocals that Anthony and I recorded. And this is Anthony saying some phrases for everyone to use.
Nobody has to know that we're moving in the flow.
We have dries and we have wets of all the vocals that we did. And then have a little filler vocal in the drop. Very, very faint. It's just there to add a little bit of texture in the background. In the turnaround point, I added another Tech House vocal loop, and I just took a phrase from it and put a big old echo and more echo and reverb and stuff just to make it fill out space in the second part. Very, very simple. Build up, nothing crazy. I honestly could have made this better, but it works for this to teach you guys. snare buildup, I put the warping on beats mode, and on every 16th note, which is where all these hit, is on 16th notes, I put the transient forward, so it just plays the transient and then it stops at the end of every 16th note. And then I also put the swing on there, just adds a little bit of groove into it. It's not as straight. And then also halfway through the build-up, put a little effect, which I just made. I usually do like stuff like this unique to every track. So I originally took the audio from the master and recorded it in. Super weird, right? Here I sped it up as fast as it could go. And then I put spectral time on it. And then I recorded that into a new track, chopped a section of it that I liked. Just chopped it, EQ'd it, and then put a delay on it. So it fades off into the distance. And then a little tiny riser in the background. And in my opinion, it sounds great.
Promise it'll be alright.
Then you can easily duplicate this out, add a little variation in the center. We could go in here and automate a cutoff, just to take out some energy, and then you can bring it back in again. You could even like add in a ride in there. This is from an upcoming pack, Techno Elements. What? Turn it down, and then let me grab a side chain. I'm gonna grab this one. I don't know how this is going to sound. Cool. And then we could add in a shifter on top of it to have it go down, possibly. Just to add variation throughout the drop. Yeah, there you go. Tech house banger. Very, very simple. There's a lot of possibilities that you can do with it. I want to hear what people can do. This is one of many options that we can do, that you can experiment with. Yeah, thank you. I got a job interview in 30 minutes.